It's been a very long time since we've had a really good, really high quality sci-fi RPG. I'm a huge fan of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic and Mass Effect. Both Knights of the Old Republic 1 and its follow-up by Obsidian, the Sith Lords, and Mass Effect 1 and 2 are all games that I still return to on a regular basis. There aren't many games to have released in the last few years that scratch that same itch and are of a similar level of quality to Mass Effect and KOTOR. I did at one point hope that Starfield could maybe be that game, but that didn't really work out.
I'm gonna make video games and everyone's gonna play them. Like, you dork. Go back to the chess club. Who's laughing now? Yes, I was in the chess club.
However, there is a new hope. Previously announced at the Game Awards in 2023, Exodus is a new and original AAA science fiction RPG from recently formed studio Archetype Entertainment. The game is described by Archetype as a next-generation, story-driven RPG that marries cinematic storytelling with deep emotional impact, featuring broad player agency and modern AAA gameplay. Holy shit, that sounds like my kind of game. Though the most exciting thing to me about Exodus is all of the ex-BioWare developers who are working on this and all of the talent that's involved. The studio is comprised of industry veterans who have previously worked at studios like BioWare, Naughty Dog and 343. I know lots of new games tout having industry veterans as part of their team, being this really amazing thing, and then quite often the game doesn't always work out. In a way, it's often just a marketing thing, but this time I do think it's different. Most of all, I'm really excited about Drew Karpyshyn being involved. If you didn't know, Drew Karpyshyn was one of the founding fathers of BioWare, and he was the lead writer on Knights of the Old Republic, Mass Effect 1, and a co-lead writer on Mass Effect 2. He's also been involved with loads of other projects for BioWare over the years, like the Old Republic MMO and some of the spin-off novels for that, as well as Baldur's Gate 2. This is what got me really interested in Exodus. I can't remember the last big sci-fi RPG that made a point of emphasising its writing staff and its commitment to storytelling, which is one of the most important aspects of games like this, and Karpyshyn's work speaks for itself. It's really encouraging knowing that he's back as a lead writer in a big, ambitious sci-fi RPG. Renowned sci-fi author Peter F. Hamilton is also involved and is soon to publish the first of 2 books to help fill out the lore and set the stage for this new universe. I haven't read Hamilton's work myself, but he is really highly regarded, being Britain's biggest selling science fiction author. James Olin is the creative director on Exodus, and he previously led the design on, get ready, Baldur's Gate 1, Baldur's Gate 2, Neverwinter Nights, Knights of the Old Republic, and Dragon Age Origins. That's quite a resume. There's clearly a lot of talent working on Exodus, and specifically talent who have lots of experience with high quality AAA RPGs with great storytelling. The game also features Matthew McConaughey, for some reason.
Thank y'all for having me. Good to be here. What's up, everybody?
To be fair though, casting him does kind of remind me of what the original Mass Effect Trilogy did, when BioWare hired a load of Hollywood talent that actually turned in excellent performances. Mass Effect has some great actors, like Keith David, Tricia Helfer, Carrie-Anne Moss, Yvonne Strahovski, and Martin Sheen.
The Reapers are still out there.
And it's up to us to stop them.
So hopefully Exodus can emulate some of that success. Maybe there'll be other Hollywood actors alongside McConaughey in the final game. Exodus appears to be pretty ambitious, with the game focusing on choices and the effects that those choices have over the course of years and sometimes decades, depicted in the game via time dilation. I'll let McConaughey explain.
In this game, time moves differently. Days for you are decades for your loved ones back home. The choices that you make not only affect the people that you love, they'll also affect your entire civilization for generations to come.
Players take on the role of a traveller, going around the universe and fighting enemies called Celestials. The official story description from Archetype reads as follows. In Exodus, humanity has fled a dying Earth, finding a new home in a hostile galaxy. Here, we're the underdogs, fighting for survival. As the Traveller, you are humanity's last hope. Your job is to steal alien weapons and technology from the most powerful beings in the universe, the Celestials, humanity's greatest enemy. But there's a catch. Time dilation. As travellers on interstellar missions, days for you are decades back home. The sacrifices you make to protect your loved ones create unpredictable consequences to change your world, reshaping the future. Returning home, you confront the consequences of your choices. In Exodus, the outcome of these choices manifests at a massive level, compounding over generations. This all sounds really good and a really interesting twist on what we may expect from a sci-fi game like this. I certainly can't think of a big sci-fi RPG that's used time as such a big aspect of the story and a big factor in how the game works. So let's talk about who you play as. So on the official Exodus website, which by the way has loads of info and lore on there already, I really recommend that you go and have a look. I'll link it in the description. But on that website there is this description of our player character. You are the heir of Orion Aslan, a legendary traveller from the world of Lydon, a renegade amongst the stars, a hunter of secrets and alien technology, inheriting the gift of neural induction from your mother Ava, who was born of celestial heritage. You are able to interact with celestial technology unlike other humans. So you're half human, half celestial, which I think is a cool idea. It does remind me of Mass Effect, where as Shepard you see the vision from the Prothean beacon on Eden Prime, and that's sort of what made us special and made it a kind of chosen one story in a way. The lineage of our character and the ability it's given us to interact with celestial technology, unlike other humans, is a similar narrative device being used here in Exodus. We get to play as a custom character that is voiced. Yes, there is a voice protagonist, and the character you play as is called June. I'm actually happy about there being a voice protagonist, as I don't see it as an issue at all. I'm actually quite excited about that. I really enjoy it when games do that if they do it well. I know some people aren't always a huge fan of a voice protagonist in games like this. It can be done badly, like in Fallout 4, which was awful for many reasons in my opinion, but one of them being the poor dialogue choices and the poor way that your character's dialogue was written. So I think the voice protagonist just kind of didn't really work there. The choices weren't very meaningful. But there are obviously loads of examples where it can work really well, like in Mass Effect. There are of course companions, though so far only 2 have been revealed, Elise and Tom. Elise is a weapons expert who is described as being brave, loyal and sarcastic, while Tom is said to be a charming rogue who has travelled across the Centauri cluster as part of a crew in a variety of different missions. Companions will be introduced throughout the game, and some of them will be non-human. Relationships with your companions will evolve over time, and like Mass Effect, there will be romance options. Whether we can actually play as a non-human character though is a bit of a weird one. When asked about this in a Q&A, Archetype said yes and no, inferring they're going to talk about it later, so I'm not sure what's going on there, but I'm sure they'll give us a proper answer in due course.
So non-human playable character, great question. The answer is not trivial. It's actually a bit of yes and no. We're super excited about some of the things that you're going to be able to do as a player, but because of that, we're not going to reveal all the details for a little while ahead of us.
So our primary antagonists are the Celestials, said to be humanity's greatest enemy, and they are actually ancient humans who evolved to become almost like an entirely new species over the course of about 25,000 years. The game has a big emphasis on choice and roleplay, and the game is supposed to be non-linear. It sounds like they're really emphasising player agency. They've said that choices that you make throughout the game will have a big impact on the ending, and that choice is at the core of the game. They're really stressing the importance of consequence, which really excites me. The game doesn't take place in the Milky Way, it takes place in the Omega Centauri, which I think is a really interesting choice. Maybe that gives them a bit more creative freedom. It seems like they're building a huge universe here with lots of well-developed lore. Obviously, as aforementioned, we have the books from Peter F. Hamilton. There's also lots of interesting stuff on the Exodus website, as I've mentioned. There's a really interesting timeline that I recommend you have a look at as well. And there's loads of other videos and information that tell you more about the backstory to this universe. The game is being developed in Unreal Engine 5. It looks really, really nice, and I think the early gameplay we've seen so far actually does look pretty good, considering that it's apparently only in pre-alpha and is still probably a couple years away. It does look kind of like janky. Let's say it's a bit rough, around the edges. But for this stage in development and from what they've shown off so far, I think it looks good. And there's obviously plenty of time for this game to be polished up before release. There's no actual official release date announced just yet though, but if I had to guess, I would say that we could maybe expect Exodus in 2026. Who knows, maybe it could release towards the end of next year. But I think that's probably wishful thinking. I would definitely prefer that they take their time with this. There hasn't been a game coming up that I've wanted to succeed more than this in a while. It definitely feels like all the ingredients are here to make something really, really good. So I would much prefer if they take their time with it. If it is going to be 2026, then fine. If the end product is great, then it's totally worth the wait. So that's Exodus, this new, ambitious, AAA, narrative-driven sci-fi RPG being worked on by BioWare veterans, and it sounds really, really exciting. I'm fairly optimistic about Exodus, cautiously optimistic because who knows if it's going to work out, but optimistic nonetheless. Archetype certainly have so much talent in their team, and they seem to have a really clear goal in what they're trying to achieve. They want to have a game with deep lore, where choices and consequences are built into the heart of the game. Obviously we had Baldur's Gate 3 in the last couple of years, but generally speaking it's been a while since we've had many games like this at all, really. I feel like there hasn't been a Knights of the Old Republic or a Fallout New Vegas or a Mass Effect in a really long time. With the exception of Baldur's Gate 3, there haven't been many games that have lived up to these great RPGs. Hopefully Exodus can do that. I will definitely be keeping an eye on Exodus and making videos on the game as more information is revealed before the game is released. So if you're interested in Exodus, then do stick around and subscribe. I might do some deeper lore videos based on what's currently available on the website, because it is really, really interesting. If you're interested in other single-player narrative-driven games as well, if you're interested in RPGs, please do subscribe. That's what the main focus of my channel is probably going to be going forward. I've got plans for videos on Mass Effect, Knights of the Old Republic, The Last of Us, Fallout, and plenty of others too. If you liked the video, please do leave a like. I'm just getting started on YouTube, so I'd really, really appreciate it. It helps loads. And let me know what you think of Exodus in the comments. I want to see some hype about this game because it sounds really promising. Thanks for watching.
Pew, pew, pew. All right, we'll see how that handled.